CZ. Are you ready for the grill? Ah, Vitalik, how are you?
Hello. Good. How are you?
Vitalik, it's too bad that you are not in the room. We are in a room which is absolutely full, and there are people waiting outside in order to listen to you and to CZ. You are the real stars of the day. Maybe of the whole event, but no, there are a few other ones, and we will see later. You will have a great competition when it comes to stars. So we have an incredible session now, one of the most important regarding not only the future, but also the Web3, cryptocurrencies, and CZ. I must tell you, maybe it's because of my gray hair, I don't understand at all what you have done. Can you tell us what Binance is all about? And please tell us also what Binance does really, not the bullshit that you are telling to other people. Here you tell the truth.
Yeah, so thanks for having me here, and thanks for having us. And it's a great honor to be here. And so Binance, most people know Binance as a cryptocurrency exchange. So it's a place where what I describe as it's a place for people to access crypto. So people can come and buy crypto, hold crypto, use crypto to invest or do other things. Today, Binance has evolved beyond the exchange. We also have one of the most popular decentralized wallet, meaning that people can hold their own coins, Trust Wallet. We have we own CoinMarketCap, which is one of the most popular websites for people to visit to get crypto information. We have a BNB chain. We have a bunch of other things. So it's more of a crypto ecosystem now. But our biggest business is still the exchange.
Can you tell us how many users you have?
Yeah, so today, I think a month ago, we passed 120 million users. These are KYC trading users.
So this means that there is 120 million people at least who are trading currencies, cryptocurrencies?
Yes, and also to give a bit of color, a year and a half ago, at the beginning of 2021, we only had 20 million users. So 100 million growth.
So it's moving quite fast.
Yes, and so most of the users are still very active because they're new joiners.
Yeah. I understand that you have a market share which is around 2%.
It's a little bit bigger than that. Yeah, so by most metrics, we're the leading platform. But depending on how you calculate, we don't look at that number. There's many different ways to interpret that number. Yeah.
You don't want to give a number? Or you don't know how to calculate? Or is it so big that you don't want to say it?
There's different ways of calculations. I think the blog put us at 70% last year. They didn't update the numbers, so I don't really know how they calculate now. In our own internal calculation, we put us at about 30-35%. We include a lot more players in the market share calculation. Yeah.
Can we have an idea of the number of transactions, the market cap, what Binance represents?
Sure. I think in 2021, we traded $34 trillion equivalent of crypto.
Can you repeat?
Yeah, so $34 trillion equivalent in crypto in 2021. This year, so far, I think we're about the same. Later on, maybe.
But as cryptocurrencies are going down, so you will trade maybe more transaction with lesser value.
So when there's high volatility, like yesterday, I just checked this morning because somebody asked me this morning. Yesterday, we traded 120 billion yesterday, which is quite high. On a flat day, it's like 50 billion. The highest day we had so far was like close to 200 billion.
So you can imagine with somebody who is trading so much money, it is, I would change,
No, please.
So you have decided to settle in France. Tell us why.
I think France, the main reason is the leadership. I think France has very strong leadership. France wanted to become a startup nation. 5 years ago, and I think it's largely achieved that. And we foresee that it continues for at least another five years. So the leadership is very, very strong here. And the French regulators are extremely tough, but they're very, very responsive. So they ask so many questions, forms after forms after forms. But when we respond, we get a response back very quickly. So the responsiveness of regulators is a key thing that we think are very important to us. So it's not about the toughness, it's about the responsiveness. So
it's not about the wine.
The wine too. Yeah, the wine here is great. The food is great. The city is fantastic. It's just so much history, so much culture. It's just a very lovely city. So yeah, so this is my base. I fly back in to get new clothes and then fly back out.
We will move to Vitalik for a moment, and then we will come back and we will have the conversation all together. Vitalik, it's just incredible because I don't know if you are really 28, you look like being 18, and you have created one of the most impressive blockchain in the world and a cryptocurrency, which is the second largest in the world and keeping growing. So maybe you can start by telling us how the idea came to you to create a cryptocurrency. If I'm speaking to my grandson, I would think that they will talk to me about many things, but they will not tell me that they have an idea of creating a new money, a new currency. So how this happened, and can you tell us a little bit about your journey? We want to know more about yourself.
So I first joined the Bitcoin community back in 2011, and I immediately found it interesting. I immediately started participating in the Bitcoin community more and more. I actually started as a writer for Bitcoin Magazine, and I just wrote a lot of articles about the technology, economics, cryptography, politics, so just like all different sides of the Bitcoin ecosystem. And eventually I dropped out of university and I went on this trip around the world talking to different Bitcoin communities. And so I visited some of them in New Hampshire in the US. I went to Spain, went to Switzerland, and eventually went to Israel, and then San Francisco, and just many different places. And on this trip, I discovered some of the people that were already thinking about this topic of how do we take the blockchain technology behind Bitcoin and how do we make it work for other kinds of applications too, right? So can we use blockchains to issue assets, to decentralize domain names, to create more open and transparent financial systems, and this long list of applications. And the projects that were trying to do this, the way that they were trying to do it at the time was they were basically saying, here is a list of 10 different applications we want to support, and we're going to build a platform that's like a Swiss Army knife, right? So that has 10 different types of transactions, one type of transaction for every application. So I realized pretty quickly that this is like a very limited approach, right? You can support 10 applications, but what happens if someone invents a different application? And so I had this one idea that instead of having these 10 different types of transactions for 10 different applications, you would take a programming language and so a computer code, and you would stick a programming language inside of the platform, and you would let people write whatever applications they want, and the blockchain would support it. So I had this idea, and at the beginning, I even tried to convince some of the existing projects to adopt it, but they were only interested in doing it after some very long time. They thought, okay, maybe it will take years to get to there. And so, but I thought, okay, fine, I'll just start doing this myself. And so I wrote the white paper, started reaching out to some friends, and there was a lot of excitement, and the Ethereum project started from there.
Are you a tech guy, or do you just had the idea? Do you know how to write code? Or is it just traveling, looking?
I think so.
Tell us a little bit more. We need to know.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if if you go and check my GitHub, there's going to be a bunch of people that tell me that'll tell me that the code sucks. But I don't know, it runs. I wrote some stuff.
Vitalik, can you tell us a little bit about what Ethereum is all about? We understand it is a blockchain specific. You will tell us if you are more compatible with the climate change and the new environment rules than other blockchains. And Ethereum, why and what is making Ethereum different from Bitcoin?
Sure. So to start with the last question, so what is different between Bitcoin and Ethereum? Bitcoin is a blockchain that supports one application, right, which is being decentralized money, so medium of exchange and store of value, and focusing much more on the store of value side, I think, recently, right? Ethereum is meant more as a general purpose blockchain, so it is a blockchain that's designed to support a wide range of applications. So you can build kind of open and decentralized financial systems on top of it. You can use it to build what we call DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. So like organizations, companies, group communities, groups of people working together and using the blockchain to manage things like their memberships and their assets. You can have a decentralized alternative to things like the domain name system. So replace a lot of the infrastructure that runs the internet today with more decentralized alternatives. So basically just create more of these kind of open and transparent alternatives to many parts of the internet as it exists today, instead of just focusing on one thing. So that is how the Ethereum vision started. The two big things that we in Ethereum are working on today, one is proof of stake and the other is scalability. So proof of stake is a consensus algorithm. It is a way that allows all of the computers in the Ethereum network to agree on what transactions people sent, who did what in what order, who has how many coins, and all of these things that a blockchain needs to have consensus on. So Bitcoin and Ethereum today both use a different mechanism for this called proof of work, right? And proof of work was the earliest one. It's simple, it works, but it has this weakness that proof of work requires consuming a large amount of electricity, right? And a large amount of resources on creating computer hardware, right? So there's people who spend billions of dollars on creating specialized computers that are optimized just for this one task of participating in the Bitcoin network. And they consume large amounts of electricity. So it's a very expensive, very, very wasteful system in many ways. So proof of stake is this alternative direction that people have been thinking about, I think, since about 2012. But it can be much cheaper. It can be more secure. It has all of these really nice properties. And Ethereum is currently in the process of fully moving over to proof of stake. So the Ethereum proof of stake chain actually already exists, right? It's called the Beacon chain. It's existed for 1.5 years. The last step of the process is shutting down the proof of work chain and moving over all of the existing Ethereum applications to the proof of stake chain. So this is the process. This is something that's called the merge. So everyone in the Ethereum community is very excited about the merge. We have done a lot of testing. One of the main Ethereum test networks called Ropsten already switched to the merge, already did the merge. So we already have a proof of stake on a switch to proof of stake on a test network. And it's expected that in a few months, the Ethereum main network will also switch. So that's one. The other big one is scalability, right? So a lot of people are concerned about blockchains, including Bitcoin, including Ethereum, including others, having high transaction fees. So you need to spend a large amount of money to send a transaction on the network. And this makes things difficult, especially for non-financial applications, right? Like if he wants to send someone $10,000, then paying $8 for a transaction is okay. But if all he wants to do is like create a profile on a decentralized social media network, then $8 is already going to be too expensive for most people. So trying to increase the scalability and to try to reduce the fees, make the blockchain less expensive. And so there's a lot of teams that are working on different approaches at solving this problem too.
CZ, you have understood what's going on.
Barely.
Yeah. The first question to you is to react to what Vitalik has said and maybe to tell us from your point of view and without creating any problem between the two of you, can you tell us if Ethereum is as voracious as Bitcoin when it comes to energy? And can you react to what Vitalik has said?
I think, Ethereum is definitely more energy efficient, it's a different type of blockchain. It's a more general purpose, turning complete language blockchain. So Vitalik is a genius in creating that. Yeah.
And now, can you react on the merge and the new ideas which are developed?
I think, so basically, Ethereum Vitalik now has to, they have a very difficult job to do. They have to evolve this blockchain while carrying backward compatibility. There's many developers using that blockchain. So the work is very difficult. And I think, but I do have very strong confidence that the Ethereum team, under the leadership of Vitalik, will get that done. Previously, I did doubt Vitalik's, before Ethereum was launched, Vitalik came to my house in Tokyo, this is in 2015. I told him that's too big of a bite to chew, and so I didn't buy Ethereum. And then, of course, a few months later, they launched the mainnet. So, I thought the problem was very difficult, but I think the problem now is very difficult. But I think that Vitalik and his team has the capability to crack it.
Vitalik, there are a lot of people who believed, and I'm part of them, that currency has to be created by government. They have to be guaranteed by the state bank, and they have to be grounded on real economy. And this is something which we have been taught in schools for years, and suddenly there are currencies which are appearing, which are based on algorithm. And there is one of the consequences that we see is huge speculation, huge volatility. And my question is, how can you address the issue of volatility, and how can we make sure that this currency has a real value over time?
Sure.
That's a question for both of you.
Sure. I'll take a crack at it first, then. My answer is usually shorter. I think today, previously, there's many things the governments do. Previously, most of us were probably going to be slaves, and that was the norm. But I don't think we should be slaves. Today, I think there's another way to view government entities. Government should be public service providers. We call public servants. Right? So as public servants or any organization in the world, they should have income and they should have expenses, and they should be providing the service that they should provide. Governments have two types of income today. One is tax income. The other one is printing money. I don't think we need two. Most organizations should only have the income where they provide a service, they charge a fee. So tax is okay, I think, in my opinion, because we need public services. But why don't we need both types? And how much interference, how much control should government have on economies? And are governments the best at it? Some governments are good, some are not good. Not all governments are equal. The bad government can really screw the populations, can really screw the people's finances. What happens when a government does it badly? The government gets either a revolution or gets toppled, and then that currency disappears. So throughout history, we've seen many fiat currencies disappear. The oldest currency today, or the euros, is only about 50 years old. The oldest currency today is the British pound, which is only 330 years old. So just because it's created by the government itself may not be stable if you look at a century horizon or decade horizon. So nothing's completely stable. Will free economy cause more volatility? Probably yes. But is it good or bad? I'm not sure. Some volatility is good. We should let the things that should fail, and then so that it leaves opportunities for other people to grow. So there's some interesting concept. I don't think there's any right or wrongs, but I think the view that everything should be controlled by the government, the money should be issued by the government should have the right to quantitative ease as much as they want, in the process making their populations poor. The government should have the ability to push the economy into hyperinflation. All of these things, I'm not sure how much power the government should have. I think it's a discussion, or it's like we as a civilization is learning this process. So we're always learning. So I don't hold a black and white view. I'm not saying I'm not saying total anarchism, total libertarianism. I think we do need some rules in the government, in the society for our society to work. But overall, by and large, we need to test those limits. We need to explore if there's new things or better ways to do things. So that's kind of my view. Yeah.
Vitalik, you want to react? You have probably your own answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, first of all, the economy is becoming more virtual with or without crypto, right? Like, I remember 10 years ago, there was this fun statistic that privatejet.com, like the domain name, was sold for an amount of money that's more than the cost of a private jet. And I think that's only kind of the first example of kind of many more things like that we have seen and that we are going to see, right? I think as our society enters the information age, the most important things are going to be digital in some way, and that's going to create a society and an economy that looks weird, right? And I think like that's not a property of crypto. I think that's just a property of this stage of technological progress in general, no matter what form it takes. So I think part of that definitely is that we are seeing that this this function of kind of creating these basic kind of institutions and that our society and our economy runs on, like, they're not going to be only geographically limited to countries and governments anymore, right? I do think that governments continue to play an important role, but at the same time, we're also going to see many of these kinds of ecosystems that represent, digital communities that represent sort of diverse and different groups of people from around the world. And I think there's a healthy balance that can be made between both of those kinds of systems. And I don't expect cryptocurrencies to completely take over the world, but I think they definitely have an important role to play in creating an alternative. And especially, I think having an alternative is even more important, not just for people in kind of wealthy countries where the existing kind of services tend to be stable, but also in many other parts of the world where there just isn't a good fiat currency that people can trust and not just destroy their savings over the next 10 years. And I think in cryptocurrency, like cryptocurrencies also, right, they're not a finished product. Like, we are seeing new ones, we are seeing better ones, and I think we have seen a lot of innovation recently in trying to create cryptocurrencies that have less volatility, that can be good, better as medium of exchange. So it's an evolving space.
If I translate what both of you have told me, you are telling us that you are telling us two things. One, currencies are far too important to let them in the hand of government. And second, you don't trust enough government and you prefer that the private sector is creating cryptocurrencies alongside the other money. I don't want to create a problem to you. I see that you are a little bit uneasy. Now, there is no police behind, so you can be sure that you will not be taken to a camp or anything of the like. You are in France.
It's okay. So I think basically we want to increase the level of freedom without sacrificing the security, ease of use, and even compliance, etc. So any time in human history when we're able to increase the freedom of something without sacrificing other aspects, our civilization advances. So if we think about slavery, freedom of press, freedom of education, freedom of information, so anytime we increase the freedom, we push the civilization forward. And today, I'm not saying that government should not be involved in currencies, etc. I think they should be. But how much involvement? Can private enterprises have some involvement as well, or not? Or does it have to be black and white? So can we move that spectrum a little bit? So we're exploring those options.
Vitalik, you have an answer to that?
Yeah, no, I think, like as I've said before, like I don't think it's about like crypto and digital stuff replacing governments. I think it's about crypto and digital stuff and governments. Like I think, you know, as like basically, you know, in the 21st century, you know, we're moving from a world where the rules are mostly kind of laws of physics that were set by, you know, some kind of God in the sky in nature 13.7 billion years ago, into a world where we're living more and more inside of structures that are being created and maintained by other humans. And I think governments have an important role in shaping that world. And I also think that these different kinds of non-governmental and international structures have an important role in shaping that world as well.
To be honest, I believe that creating alternative is a very good thing. And I believe also that the world has changed so dramatically in the last 20 years that it's good to shake up a little bit the system. So on that front, I'm completely aligned with you. CZ, you have created a blockchain, which is BNB. How different it is from the blockchain of Vitalik and the other ones? Is it a competition that you are opening?
I don't think it's in competition at all, but it is quite similar. We took Ethereum, copied the protocol. No, actually, I didn't do that. Our team did that. We sponsored them. We supported them. We took Ethereum. Well, we took Ethereum and made it more scalable and made it POS. So the two things that Vitalik was mentioning before. But the two blockchains are different even today. So today we see a lot of high value items being traded on the Ethereum blockchain. Whereas the retail items, the items that are really, really cheap, the items that are like $10, people don't want to pay our $10 fee. So we see a lot more of those smaller transactions on the BNB chain. I actually don't know how much source code those guys took, but I think they made the protocol compatible in terms of the smart contract design. It's Solidity compatible. But today, I don't view that as competition. We still support Ethereum very, very heavily. And Binance have multiple products in the ecosystem that may or may not have competitions, what people call competitions with other products. But any one of our products will support the entire ecosystem. So on the Binance exchange, we support Ethereum tokens very, very heavily. We also support BNB chain. On the wallet, we support Ethereum, obviously. On the BNB chain, we work with multiple centralized exchanges trying to list in different places. So it's a multi-to-multi network relationship. I don't think it's a pure competition. We just say, look, let's encourage as many innovation as possible. There's some copying here and there, but let's encourage that and let's see how the industry develops. But Vitalik may have a different opinion. I don't know.
We are entering in a new world with Web3. And Web3 is based mainly on blockchain, NFTs, metaverse. So you are, both of you, at the forefront of Web3. First, can you define what could be the role of Binance and Ethereum in the world of Web3?
Okay, I'll take a crack first. I think Ethereum pioneered the NFT token, the ERC which 714 design?
721.
741, yeah. Thank you. And then Ethereum also pioneered the ERC20 design. So Ethereum pioneered, prototype all of these concepts and actually built all of these concepts. So Ethereum is a true, like Vitalik is a true genius, and they're the ones pushing the innovation front very heavily. I view Binance's role is more the application side. We want, like throughout my career, I've always looked at how to take a very good concept and give it to hundreds of millions of people, hopefully, or maybe billions of people. That requires scaling. So Binance is a centralized exchange, has a couple hundred, 120 million users today. Decentralized world is a little bit smaller, but we're always looking, my view is always like, how do we multiply this at scale? So that's kind of my view, but Vitalik can also give his views, which might be different.
Vitalik.
Yeah, I mean, so like the way that I look at Web3 in general is that it's basically a collection of efforts to try to create a better internet that uses blockchains, zero-knowledge proofs, other kinds of newer technologies to try to solve some of the problems around like centralization, privacy, security that people are concerned about in Web2. And I think many different technologies and many different projects have an important role to play in that. So I think a lot of the Web3 ideas definitely absolutely require a blockchain in some form. If people are interested in the topic, a few days ago I published a piece on my blog, vitalik.ca, where I just kind of go through some some of the non-financial applications where, and like some like specific places where I think blockchains make sense there as well. So it's not just about finance; it's also about identity, just creating better forms of internet applications in general, and improving on privacy and so forth. I think. I mean, the valuable thing that Binance provides, I think, is just being a gateway. Like when you visit, like when I visited Argentina at the end of last year, right, and I talked to a lot of people, just regular users, and just people in coffee shops that just happens to accept ETH. A lot of them, they just have Binance accounts, and like that just is their gateway for getting assets and interacting with the world. So I think that's. Those kinds of gateways always have an important function to play.
One of the greatest advantage of Web3 is that it will be a formidable tool for the decentralized economy. And everything which is currently centralized may explode tomorrow. So what is your view of the future of decentralized economy? And I have the same question to Vitalik.
Sure. So my view is Web 2 really decentralized information. So with the internet's function is really a better way to transfer information, and that has completely changed the way we live, we interact, we communicate, etc. Web 3, in my view, is going to change the way we transact value. So it's going to change how we invest, how we raise money, how we do transactions, how we do business globally. Business is going to be much more global, much more without borders, and much more decentralized, but at the same time also more global, right? So there will be more participants in the ecosystem. I think we will see much more startups now raising money for startups using blockchains much easier than before. So I think this is a more of a fundamental changes on how we do businesses, how we structure business models.
Vitalik, what do you think?
I think, yeah, and I think, like to me, the finance is definitely a big part of it, but also I do think that there are things that can be improved in the internet in terms of, things like reducing the level of, infringement of privacy, the level of centralization, the level of kind of all these other issues in the internet that go beyond finance as well. And I think the blockchain space has a lot to contribute in those areas as well.
Vitalik, CZ, you are shaping the future. You are really not only pioneering the future, but shaping it. And I think that you will be the people who will shape the way we will be buying, working, and shopping. I would like to thank you very warmly a rouse of applause to our friend.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Bravo. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.